You're watching the Fox 11 5 o'clock news.
Coming up next, he was there and he survived the Las Vegas shooting rampage. Now, one Southland man demanding answers and questioning a new report. He'll be here live in our studio to discuss his mission to help victims of the attack next. A preliminary investigative report of the Las Vegas massacre last October has created as many questions as it's answered.
Among the details, investigators have chased down nearly 2,000 leads.
The report also revealed that the gunman, Stephen Paddock, had child pornography on his computer, that his doctor suspected he was bipolar. It also reports that Paddock behaved strangely during a stay at the Mandalay a month before the shooting and that he'd been prescribed anti-anxiety medication. Some of the victims have pointed fingers at Mandalay Bay, the hotel, and the owners, MGM Grand, suggesting that more could have or should have been done to stop Paddock, but they say all interactions they had with the gunman were, quote, normal.
Joining us now is attorney Brian Claypool. Brian, you were actually there that night, escaped the shooting spree. You also represent some of those survivors. You have litigation against the MGM. Can we first start with that night? You were at the concert.
Yeah, I was actually in the front row of the VIP section, but it was just to the left of the stage. I actually have my wristband.
You're still wearing it?
Yeah. I'm still wearing this wristband in honor of those killed and injured, and I can't take it off till it falls off. I heard a couple pops. I thought it was fireworks. And then what I did, and I learned through my therapist, I did this for comfort. I actually looked at Jason Aldean's face because he was on the stage, and I figured if he's going to run off, something's wrong. And then I heard a couple more pops. He immediately cupped his guitar under in his underarm and ran off that stage. And man, at that moment, I knew something bad was going down.
We have some questions for you before we get into the nitty-gritty about that. I want to ask you, because you're in such a unique position here as representing victims and being right there and a victim yourself. How are you? How are you doing?
Good days and bad days. I was talking to Christine before we did this piece that last week I was in Vegas. First time back, I had a meeting with some other lawyers on this case. And man, I had so much anxiety the night before. I couldn't sleep.
In your voice.
And then getting there, and I got to tell you, get off the plane, and what's the first thing I see out the window? The Mandalay Bay. And I'm like, man, then I got upset. Then I'm upset, and I'm like, I want to get some answers. And that's why I'm representing victims, including myself, because there has been a complete lack of transparency in this investigation until these preliminary reports have come out. And even with these reports, tons of questions left unanswered.
So you're representing dozens of clients. Yeah. You mentioned that you saw a therapist. I can't imagine what those who might have been physically injured, who are survivors, or their family members are feeling. What do you want for those that you represent?
We absolutely want change. This is about social change. Because I'll tell you, at the moment when the shots were being fired, and I pop, 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 and I'm laying there, and I think you know I have a little girl. I'm a single parent of a 12-year-old girl. And I was laying there ready to get hit, and I'm thinking, I'm going to die. And then I got upset, and I'm like, I'm going to die? We live in the most civilized country in the world, and I'm going to die at the hands of assault weapons and shots being fired at me? I'm like, this is not the way I should die. So that gets to my point of what we're doing here. We are all about making change and security across this country. Because make no mistake about it, that in May of last year, Vegas was on notice of a credible ISIS lone wolf threat. And I know, and we're going to find out during this lawsuit, that there must have been training going on with the Sheriff Lombardo in Vegas and meeting with the casinos to develop a plan to preempt something like this.
There were 5 things that were highlighted in the 81-page review. And can we go through those really quickly? Of those 5, there were a couple that maybe, I guess you could say, you could look the other way on. 1, Mandalay dispatched police to the wrong floor. In the melee, you may give a little grace and say we could understand that. Also, the alarm was triggered. Paddock's door was open for over an hour. And some people may say it's Vegas, stranger things have happened. There are some really interesting things highlighted, though, and that is the stairwell was barricaded. And the security guard that was there before the shooting noticed that. That should have sent up a huge red flag, right?
Dan, this is a deal breaker, and thank you for covering this. That's the biggest piece of information in this report that is going to crush MGM and Mandalay Bay and make them make change. Because when Campos, the security guy, was at that stairwell on the 32nd floor at 9:46 p.m., the shooting didn't start till 10:06. Right. He did not immediately call for help when that door was barricaded.
There were a couple other things highlighted too, and let's just get through those. Paddock took 26 pieces of luggage up the service elevator. That's a lot of luggage. That's a lot. Now, you could say maybe somebody should have noticed or someone shouldn't, but also he's unarmed. So even if he notices something, what can he do unarmed besides call in more backup, I guess? So those are your five things.
Let's talk real quick about the 26 pieces of luggage. Look, after May of last year, you've got to train your employees to be looking for red flags. Okay, a killer is not going to walk up and say, I'm going to kill somebody.
Right.
You've got to preempt it. So nobody was paying attention to all the luggage. Then they're letting him use a service freight elevator. That's another problem. Then there's no surveillance video in the hallways. And then you've got the housekeeping issues. I mean, a housekeeper, they said there were housekeepers in there. How do you
drilled
not?
Holes, he drilled holes in the windows, too.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's an excellent point. Every responsible casino and hotel, once you start drilling a hole in a window, it's going to trigger an alarm. And had that alarm been implemented, we would have stopped this shooting from happening.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure,
okay, so in all fairness, you talked about their possible concern of an ISIS lone wolf attack. This was not an ISIS attack. This was one person who may have been bipolar. One person can do some damage. How do you protect everybody everywhere?
Okay, the point of the ISIS attack report in May of 2017 isn't to say, well, this wasn't an ISIS attack. What it means is the city of Las Vegas is on notice of a potential terror attack. They were a soft target. So all I'm saying is you have that information. You're armed with that information. You need to then go the extra mile to adjust. We live in dangerous times. Your security procedures need to adjust as the terror threat escalates. And that's what they didn't do.
But aren't we all vulnerable somewhere?
You shouldn't, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? Well, no, we are, but the bigger question is, should we be? And I will tell you, being at a concert and trying to relax 2 days before my birthday and then thinking I'm dead, that's not a place.
Can I ask the big question here, too? And that is, what do you want? I mean, you're a victim here. What's going to make you whole? What do you feel is going to make the other victims whole here? There's litigation going on.
Absolutely.
What do you want?
We want the truth, first of all. We're fed up with this garbage that we're getting in these investigative reports. We're fed up with the complete lack of transparency. Aren't you guys? This is the largest mass shooting in the history of this country. And we hardly hear a peep about what's going on. Why? Because there's a lot of money that goes to Vegas. So in my opinion, greed is eclipsing public safety in this case. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is we want change. We want this to be a safer world to live in. Like you said, Christine, the only way to get it is let's find out what went wrong in this litigation, and then let's fix it.
All right. Attorney Brian Claypool, thank you so much. And with that wristband there, a constant reminder, isn't it?
You bet. Yeah, it is.
Continue on the road to recovery personally as well.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.